A troubling phone call from a concerned member of the public set New York authorities on a grim path. They braved the city's cold, winter-worn streets to the imposing Peninsula Hotel. Escorted by hotel staff, the officers climbed multiple flights of stairs, finally arriving at a solitary room at the corridor's far end. One of these individuals was no ordinary guest. He was part of New York's affluent elite. The question lingered, who were these people? What had unfolded behind that closed door? Why did this case ignite such controversy? And what dark tragedy lay beneath the surface of this heartbreaking story? Welcome to my channel. I'm Adrian, and today we peel back the layers of a chilling case. Listen closely. Our journey takes us to the East Coast, to one of the globe's most iconic cities, New York City, a place immortalized on screen, and home to the world's most powerful and famous bankers, CEOs, artists, and singers all walk these streets. The city holds everything imaginable, from Michelin-starred dining to grand theaters, to opulent hotels scattered among towering skyscrapers. New York dazzles with its beauty and vibrance. But beneath this glittering surface, in the realm of the elite, lie shadows darker than the city's night. In February 2010, within the walls of the five-star Peninsula Hotel on Fifth Avenue, a tragic tale was about to unfold. On February 5th, a cold, gray winter morning swallowed the city. Yet the hotel staff's attention was captured by a far more unsettling matter. They had stumbled upon a discovery that would haunt them. The Peninsula's rates start at $14,000 a night, boasting a spa fitness center and indoor heated pool luxury beyond measure. So, when a worried relative called requesting a welfare check on a guest who had gone unresponsive during a sensitive phone call, staff responded without hesitation. But knocking brought only silence. Fearing something was terribly wrong, the staff alerted police, choosing caution over uncertainty. By early afternoon, officers arrived and knocked again, met only by silence. What could be behind that locked door? The unknown pressed heavily on their minds. Faced with no response, police forced entry. They found the door crudely barricaded from inside with a chair. Removing the obstruction, they stepped inside, and what awaited them was unimaginable. On the bed lay the lifeless body of a 10-year-old boy, cold to the touch, unresponsive. Nearby on the floor, a middle-aged woman lay motionless but still breathing, surrounded by a sea of pills and medicine bottles. Paramedics rushed to the scene, fighting to save both lives. But heartbreakingly, the boy was pronounced dead at the scene. The woman was rushed to the hospital in critical condition. Detectives immediately noted the alarming presence of an enormous quantity of medication. Xanax, Prozac, Ambien tranquilizers, antidepressants, and sleeping pills. More than 2,000 pills cluttered the room. Pill crushers and dosing syringes littered the scene, some syringes stained with traces of drugs mixed with vodka and orange juice. Vodka bottles were scattered throughout, emptied to varying degrees. For a one-night stay between a mother and her son, even one bottle would be alarming. But here the sheer number was staggering, a disturbing excess. This was no simple case of a mother succumbing to drugs and taking her child with her. This was only the beginning of a grim and twisted story. At first glance, it appeared to be a tragic murder-suicide. It did not take long for officers to identify the boy, Jude Mira. Paramedics found his body temperature at a chilling 80 degrees Fahrenheit, far below what is survivable. Experts estimated that his heart had stopped beating 8 to 14 hours before discovery, depending on the room's temperature. The autopsy revealed moderate bruising on Jude's nose and throat. Investigators concluded that physical force had been used against him. Toxicology reports delivered a grim finding: Jude had been given a lethal dose of Xanax. Behind that closed door, a grim mystery awaited unraveling. What sequence of events had brought these two souls to such a tragic moment? The haunting question remained: how had Jude Mira come to be trapped in this fatal state? At this point, investigators could only speculate and piece together fragmented clues. The only person who held the truth was his mother. When authorities and medical staff learned her identity, shock rippled through the room. She was none other than Gigi Jordan, the wealthy New York socialite and medical entrepreneur. To understand this dark tale, we must rewind to 1960, the year Gigi was born in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Raised in what appeared to be a stable middle-class home, Gigi grew into a well-educated and seemingly well-adjusted child. Her academic success was notable, consistently earning above-average grades to support a comfortable life. Yet beneath this facade, darkness loomed. Her mother struggled with severe depression, enduring repeated suicide attempts that cast a long shadow over Gigi's formative years. This mental anguish inevitably left scars, shaping Gigi's development as she transitioned from childhood into adolescence. Tragically, her mother was not the only family member battling despair. At just 12 years old, Gigi witnessed her aunt's successful suicide attempt, deepening the family's tragic legacy. Despite these hardships, Gigi remained determined. She excelled in her studies, eventually choosing to pursue nursing at a local hospital, dedicating herself to caregiving. Believing in the healing power of home comfort, she focused on caring for patients in their own environments, where she felt true recovery could occur. It was during this period, while working as a bedside nurse, that Gigi crossed paths with her first husband, Raymond Mira Jr., a businessman from Philadelphia. Raymond's background was rooted in the pharmaceutical industry, where he had experience dispensing medications in a pharmacy. Together, their combined expertise was poised to take them far beyond those humble beginnings, fueled by ambition and a shared vision. They soon launched a venture focused on delivering medication to patients in their homes during treatment. This innovative business model proved extraordinarily lucrative, setting the stage for their fortunes. The success of this enterprise would cement Gigi's financial future, securing her a lifestyle few could imagine. Their company generated tens of millions of dollars, and Gigi held a 50% stake, making her a woman of considerable wealth. However, their partnership was short-lived, and the couple divorced soon after founding the company. Gigi emerged single, yet financially empowered. Embracing the high life, she became a fixture in New York's social elite, mingling with the city's most successful. Over the following years, Gigi expanded her business empire, amassing millions and acquiring extensive legal assets. Amid the divorce proceedings with Raymond, she met Emil Chekhov, a Belgian yoga instructor who would soon capture her heart. Their romance blossomed quickly, with Emil's upbeat and warm nature offering Gigi a welcome escape from her personal turmoil. He brought light into her life, distracting her from the stress of business and divorce. During their relationship, Gigi became pregnant with Emil's child. Yet since she remained legally married to Raymond, her son was given her surname. On July 13, 2001, Jude Mira was born into this complex family dynamic. Notably, this birth occurred on a Friday the 13th, a date steeped in superstition. Despite any ominous signs, Gigi and Emil were overjoyed. Emil loved his son so deeply that he quit his job to take on full parental responsibilities. This allowed Gigi to focus entirely on her burgeoning career, as Emil became Jude's primary caregiver. At her peak, Gigi's net worth reportedly reached an astonishing $50 million, a testament to her success. This level of wealth is unsurprising, given the vast fortunes often generated within the American healthcare industry. The industry's deep financial pools frequently create extraordinary wealth for those involved. One might expect Jude to flourish in such an affluent environment, but fate had other darker plans. Raised by both parents, Jude was deeply loved, yet cruel destiny soon snatched away the bright future they had envisioned. As Jude entered toddlerhood, it became clear he was not meeting typical speech milestones. He remained stuck at babbling, while peers began forming simple sentences. Those close to him noted his frequent moodiness, reacting adversely to everyday stimuli. He struggled with normal sensory experiences such as noise levels, new foods, and environmental changes. Concerned, his parents sought the expertise of a child psychologist, hoping for answers. The diagnosis was grim. Jude had a low-functioning form of autism. Experts concluded he might never speak, regulate emotions, or function well enough for school. This prognosis meant lifelong care was likely necessary. Devastated yet determined, Gigi refused to abandon her son's fight. She ultimately quit her career to dedicate herself fully to Jude's care. Driven to defy the odds, she sought out alternative treatments and therapies. Traveling across the country, she brought Jude to specialists desperately searching for a cure. Yet, as is known, autism remains an incurable condition. Still, through her efforts, Gigi found some limited successes in managing Jude's condition. Over time, Gigi painstakingly found ways to communicate with Jude on a basic level, using drawing, writing, and typing as their fragile connection. She spared no effort or expense, investing in every piece of technology and hardware she could find. Anything that might aid Jude became her mission. Laptops, keyboards, phones, she gathered them all. In truth, no device was beyond her reach or willingness to acquire. Her relentless devotion was evident. But this immense pressure took its toll not only on her, but on Emil Chekhov as well. Their marriage crumbled, ending in divorce and leaving Gigi alone to care for Jude. For years, this was the reality known to those around them. A mother fiercely supporting her son until the fateful night in February 2010. The discovery that followed sent shockwaves through family and friends alike. No one could have anticipated what unfolded. Her actions shattered every expectation, seeming the very opposite of the mother they thought they knew. Only Gigi herself could offer an explanation, though at the time she lay in urgent care at the hospital fighting for her life. Fortunately, she stabilized and eventually made a full recovery. Once able to speak, she agreed to several interviews with law enforcement. When Gigi finally broke her silence, the story she told was so unbelievable it stunned officers and the public alike. Authorities proceeded with caution, piecing together the grim scene, circumstantial evidence, and toxicology reports. All signs pointed to a devastating conclusion. Gigi had murdered her son and then tried to end her own life. Under intense questioning, she vulnerably recounted her actions. First, the when, where, and how had to be understood before confronting the haunting question of why. Gigi's story began with her arrival at the Royal Peninsula Hotel, accompanied by Jude. She described feeling numb and defeated, as if her world had already ended. In her mind, all hope had vanished. Nothing could be done. Gigi came prepared, carrying a dangerous arsenal of drugs. Xanax, Ambien, Prozac, and Vicodin among them. She also had several bottles of vodka, crushed pills, and syringes at her disposal. The quantity was enough to harm not just one but multiple lives. For 6 hours, Gigi and Jude lingered in the hotel room, ordering room service, watching television, and seemingly relaxing. Then, without warning, Gigi set her deadly plan into motion. She mixed crushed Xanax and Ambien with orange juice and vodka and force-fed the toxic brew to Jude. This horrifying act was repeated multiple times. Gigi later claimed Jude never resisted the drugs, but post-mortem evidence told a far different story. The autopsy revealed bruising around his nostrils, signs of a violent struggle. Jude likely lost consciousness within 15 agonizing minutes. After administering the lethal dose, Gigi left Jude alone in the room and scribbled a messy, incoherent note. She then reached out to a relative, uttering her final rambling goodbyes before succumbing to unconsciousness herself. Those last messages may have saved her life, but tragically it was far too late for her son. Gigi insisted she planned a murder-suicide, yet only half her plan succeeded. The innocent child was the one who lost his life. The pressing question remained, why? The short, harsh truth is that there is no excuse. Her actions were as reckless and unthinkable as they were tragic and horrifying. Later, I will explore what she might have done differently, but it is clear she had many healthy options available. Once she hired a lawyer, Gigi's alleged motives finally surfaced. Yet even these revealed little comfort or clarity. Behind the scenes, Gigi's world was unraveling. She claimed that during this ordeal, her first husband, Raymond Mira Jr., was legally punishing her for trying to claim half of the family business. She also alleged he had sent her death threats. These accusations were vehemently denied by Raymond, leaving it to the listener to decide whom to believe, the accused or the accuser. Gigi further feared that if she died or went to prison, Jude would be left in the custody of his biological father, Emil Chekhov. This fear weighed heavily on her. She claimed that despite Jude's limited communication, he had conveyed simple words and gestures hinting at sexual abuse by Emil. Emil, however, strongly denied these allegations. During her trial, Gigi testified that Jude had repeatedly screamed the words "Dad bad" while pointing to his private areas. Experts observed that Jude lacked the ability to articulate such phrases, especially with the force Gigi described. Simply put, this was beyond his capability. She also alleged Emil had forced Jude to drink blood and endure electrocution. These bizarre claims further strained the credibility of her story. It is important to note neither Raymond nor Emil had seen Jude for months before his death, having both relinquished parental rights long before. No evidence supported Gigi's allegations, and with Jude's severe autism and inability to communicate, he remained the sole witness who could have confirmed or denied such abuse. It seemed all too convenient that Gigi Jordan alone could communicate with Jude at moments when he appeared lucid, raising immediate suspicion. Faced with threats from her first husband, and leaving Jude in the care of her second husband, who was accused of abuse, Gigi's panic painted a bleak future for her son. Wrapped in a victim's narrative, she insisted her actions stemmed solely from a mother's desperate love. In an astonishing claim, she suggested that Jude was aware of her plan and had even pleaded with her to help end his suffering. Though these allegations defied reason, Gigi maintained them throughout her testimony. She also portrayed herself as trying to save her son, describing a frantic attempt to resuscitate him. She recounted grabbing Jude from the bed, placing him on the floor, heart-pounding, tears streaming. Calling his name, she performed CPR with painstaking detail, tilting his head back, pinching his nose, delivering breaths and compressions repeatedly. She claimed to have done this 20 times, attempting to explain the bruises on Jude's body, but medical experts later found the marks consistent with resistance to force-feeding. This was yet another effort to cast herself as a savior rather than the perpetrator. While her defense painted her actions as merciful, emerging evidence told a far darker story. Gigi claimed to have sent over $20 million in checks to charities before a suicide attempt, but none of these donations ever materialized. No charity confirmed receiving a single check, and no proof existed that she contributed at all. More troubling revelations surfaced as the trial unfolded. Friends came forward, testifying to Gigi's growing paranoia, convinced she was targeted by a devil-worshipping cult intent on harming Jude. Her delusions extended to hiring a crime reporter to investigate these baseless conspiracies. She accused nurse Hayden Foreman and even her ex-husband of plotting to kill Jude and traffic him. All signs pointed to a mother who had lost her grip on reality, desperately in need of help. Yet the true threat was far more complex. The prosecution argued that Gigi had reached her breaking point. Burned out from years of failed attempts to save Jude, she sought a final escape from her unbearable burden. During the October 2014 trial, the prosecution opened with a grim declaration: Jude's fate was sealed. Death did not come swiftly. His vital organs failed one after another. It took hours for Jude to perish a slow, torturous decline. Gigi remained emotionless as the prosecution detailed the haunting crime scene and her chilling actions. This was the prosecution's grim conclusion. They argued the murder was coldly premeditated, planned over days, not a sudden act. Her defense painted a different picture, claiming extreme emotional disturbance, a euphemism for complete mental collapse. They insisted her mind was shattered by the relentless stress between her and her former partners. Yet no evidence ever supported these claims. Nor was there proof of any sex cult or bloodthirsty nurse conspiracy. Though her beliefs were delusional, Gigi appeared to truly believe this warped reality. Her defense maintained she committed the crime as a final act of love, seeing no other escape from her torment. In a controversial decision, the court accepted this narrative in October 2014, convicting Gigi of manslaughter and rejecting the prosecution's murder charge. Though facing up to 25 years, she received a reduced sentence of 18 years. At sentencing, she confessed to living with guilt every day, haunted by Jude's memory and pain. The judge responded with harsh words, condemning the premeditated poisoning and killing of an 8-year-old as a brutal act of child abuse. After 5 years of legal battles, justice was served with an 18-year sentence in state prison. It was believed that Gigi, despite abundant resources, grew weary of caring for Jude and refused to accept the sacrifices required. Her refusal to adapt to a new lifestyle sealed her tragic choices. Gigi spent most of her sentence at Rikers Island, where she granted several interviews behind bars, portraying herself as remorseful and sorrowful. In 2020, after a decade behind bars, she was granted bail on a $250,000 bond placed under home confinement during her appeal. 2 years later, on December 30, 2022, she was found dead in her Manhattan apartment. Authorities determined her death was self-inflicted. Notably, hours before her death, the court reversed the decision to release her on bail. It appeared she chose to end her life rather than return to prison, where her sentence was set to conclude in 2025. At the time, only 5 years remained on her sentence. Though one might wish to believe her suicide was born of remorse for taking her son's life, the timing suggests she simply could not face the prospect of incarceration again. So what can be said about Gigi Jordan? Setting aside her pitiful actions, it became clear that Gigi was too impulsive and self-centered to pause and consider others beyond herself. Raising a child with disabilities presents profound challenges, demanding resilience few can imagine. Many parents speak of an agonizing adjustment period marked by overwhelming grief and a deep sense of loss. Yet most eventually forge unique and rewarding bonds with their children, who go on to lead meaningful lives. Gigi's vast wealth placed her in a fortunate position, able to afford the additional care her son desperately needed. Even if she had maintained employment, hiring a full-time caregiver could have allowed her to balance her son's needs with her career. No illusion exists that this path would be easy, but the humane choice would have been to confront her circumstances head-on. Instead, she chose to abandon Jude, not even granting him the chance of voluntary adoption. By ending his life, evidence suggests she initially tried to help her son, but ultimately crossed a tragic line. We must bear that in mind. Whether she lost herself or revealed her true nature remains a haunting mystery. Depression's shadow loomed over her family history, a factor worth considering. Though still debated, it is known that both her mother and aunt suffered severe depression, with one tragically ending her own life. Gigi battled depression as well. Was she struggling from the very start? Ultimately, 2 lives were extinguished by the same hands. Hands meant to love, protect, and nurture unconditionally. Jude was born with unfortunate conditions, but his fate grew darker still with Gigi as his mother. It is a devastating end to a young life cruelly cut short by the very person meant to safeguard him. Gigi's remaining days were haunted by guilt over the horrors she inflicted, and in the end, she met a grim fate herself. In a somber side note, Emil Chekhov lost all contact with Gigi and Jude months after the divorce. He searched tirelessly, even hiring a private investigator desperate to reconnect. Tragically, the next time he saw his son was in a morgue. Thank you for following this harrowing story this far and for watching. Your attention is truly appreciated. I will return soon with another compelling case. Until then, remember to care for yourselves, support one another, and above all, stay safe. Thank you and farewell.